Good evening, welcome to Central News for Monday the 30th of September. I'm Hilary Entwistle. We continue this week with the potential mayors of the Bay of Plenty and the Waikato. Tonight is the Western Bay of Plenty District Council. There are three candidates, current Mayor Ross Patterson, Mark Boyle and Don Thwaites. Unfortunately, we had to reschedule due to citizenship ceremony, and Mark Boyle could not make the rescheduled time as he is busy on his campaign trail. But he was very keen to take part, so we caught up with him last week. So it'll be a fair race and have him answer the same questions we're going to put to Ross Patterson and Don Thwaites tonight. Welcome, gentlemen. Now, if you could all, what we've done with all our candidates, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to stand for Mayor.
Good evening. Ross Patterson, who is he? I have been on council now for 18 years, for the last 4.5 years as Mayor, and previous to that 7.5 years as Deputy Mayor. I have a vast experience in local government and know the way it works and taking that back to our people in the communities. I have also worked from Waihi Beach to Marakia with the communities right across the district. I know what they want, I know where they are at, and I am here to see that their thoughts and issues are brought to the council table.
Don.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Don Thwaites. I'm 51 years old. I'm a kiwi fruit orchardist from Te Puna, just on the outskirts of Tauranga. I'm married to Caroline. We have 3 children, a 20-year-old son who's an electrician, an aspiring Bay of Plenty rugby player, currently in the development team, a daughter at Waikato University studying biotechnology, and a younger daughter at Tauranga Girls College. I've been a district councillor now for 4.5 years. I'm standing for the mayoralty on a platform of change. I believe it's time that we can make some major changes. We can freshen up our approach, we can address our debt, and we can keep the rates affordable to all.
Let's see what Mark had to say.
Okay, I'm 52 years old. I come from Pukehina Beach at the eastern end of the Western Bay of Plenty. For the last 3 years I've been involved in some economic and community development projects, specifically for the Te Puke region, but all about job creation, investment, and economic growth and diversity. I was encouraged to run by a broad group of people from Waihi Beach through Karikari, Haumakaroa and the Te Puke district, and I'm running on a platform of getting some affordability back into our rate structure, economic growth to broaden our rate base so that we can actually attract investment, create jobs, have more people living in our district, and finding ways in which we can make the council more efficient and delivering affordable services, particularly the core services of the waters, parks, reserves, libraries and roading.
Time for us to take a break, but stay tuned, as up next we look at debt and rates. Welcome back to Central News. We are continuing tonight with our mayoral candidates of the regions. Tonight is Western Bay of Plenty. A big issue for many types of councils is debt and fiscal responsibility. Don, will you address the debt of the Western Bay of Plenty District Council and how?
Right, Hilary. Yes, we do have debt. We do have debt from the growth that we've allowed for in our wastewater schemes and our water schemes. That makes up the biggest chunk of our debt. The way I would attack the debt is to go back to a basics approach. Currently, we operate in small silos throughout our district. We have 5 different wastewater schemes. We have 3 water schemes. I would like to push them all together to drive some amalgamation from those schemes and get the efficiencies out of those. That's how I would do it, and I think it would deliver real benefits to the district.
Ross, would you like to address the debt?
Yes, I would. Our debt is manageable. It's a figure of 142 million. We have dropped 8 million off it this year already, and we have a 10-year plan that will take it down to 80 million. That plan has been audited independently by Audit New Zealand. It is feasible and it can happen. It is not going to require a great lot of rates to do it. Once we get through our next couple of years of capital works, we no longer have capital works available, so the money that was going to capital works can then flow into the debt repayment and bring that debt thing down. Mind you, our wastewater and water schemes are over 30, 40 or 50 years. There is a discussion on as to whether we should try to pay for it in 10 years or whether we should spread that forward under intergenerational funding, and that is a discussion that I will take out to the community and have with them.
Let's see what Mark had to say about debt.
Okay, debt is clearly stated in my manifesto as a number one consideration. We carry about $172 million of debt. Currently, for every dollar of revenue that council takes in from rates and fees, 20 cents is applied to interest on debt. So we have a very, very, very high debt loading. We need prudent financial management to work through that. We need to look at the operating expenditure of council and where we can take cost out. But we must get economic growth, broaden the rate base, get more people living in the district, and then we can start to get on top of that. So debt is a big consideration, but with prudent financial management and with initiatives for growth, we can actually manage our way through it.
Now let's also see what Mark had to say about what is an acceptable amount of rate increase.
Well, Council's currently forecasting over the next 3 years or so that the rates will keep increasing around 5 to 6% per annum. So my goal, and I think that's one of the key things that Council does need, it needs some pretty ambitious goals, it needs some leadership and teamwork to actually have a very, very high degree of focus on achieving these goals. So my goal on the rate increase is that we should really work hard to get cost out, to broaden the rate base and see if we can give some much needed rate relief very, very quickly within the first 2 years and put a lid on rates where they are now and really try for zero rate increases by the end of the first 3 years, the end of the next triennium, so to speak.
Right, so that was Mark's answers for that. What do you think is an acceptable amount of rate increase, Ross?
It depends where the community's at. Now, if you go into Waihi Beach where they have a stormwater problem and are losing parts of their sections and possibly threatening their houses, they're quite concerned. So they want us to do something and they're quite happy to be talking with us in the next year on this. And it could be that they have a 2 or 3 or 4%, whatever it takes to satisfy their concerns about protecting their property. Overall, I would think, though, that where debt is running and where rate demands are running and the cost that we've taken out of our business, we can range somewhere between 1, 2 or 3%. But it all does depend on what the communities want and are they prepared to pay for it over a short or a long term. So it is a discussion going forward, and we have that every year with our annual plan. That's what it's for.
What do you think is an acceptable amount of rate increase?
Short answer, Hillary, 2%. Sure, that's an easy answer to say now, but I'm sure we can really drive some efficiencies out of our current expenditure and our current program, and that's where I'm looking to pick up the benefits from. But certainly looking at that CPI or less is the key figure. That's what I'd be searching for.
So let's take a break, but up next we talk PSA. Welcome back. The Bay of Plenty has been hit hard by PSA, not just economically, but some say the spirit of the whole industry. Ross, if you were re-elected, what would you do for the after effects of PSA?
Well, right now I am chairing the Mayor's Task Force on PSA and the effects it has on the kiwifruit industry, and that's for the whole of the 6 councils in the Bay of Plenty. We're meeting every 3 months with the industry, Ministry of Social Development and Pastoral Care social sectors, just to monitor what's happening within the community and keeping a hand on things. I'm fortunate to be able to say that there is quite confidence coming through after this 18 months period. And of course the banks have been very solid in their support. So there is a underlying confidence in the industry. There has also been a crop come off this year which has given cash flow. So people are in a lot better space now than what they were 18 months ago. They understand the problems in the industry. My job going forward is to make certain that the community and the service industries aren't affected, or if they are, that we react swiftly to help on that. We are very concerned about the pastoral care side of it and the social effects within the communities, and through Ministry of Social Development we are trying to help people in that area. We are also saying to kiwifruit orchards, if you wish to revalue your orchard again, come to us about it, because a lot of these values have dropped, and if they get a new value, a lower value, then of course that's going to help them on their rate demands. So there is plenty happening. I think we're coming out of it, and I'm quite positive about the job that Zespri's doing.
Tom, what would you do?
Very right. We've grown kiwifruit for 40 years on our orchard where we are now. The same vines I pruned as an 11-year-old, I'm still pruning now. Look, kiwifruit, that's the biggest news the Western Bay of Plenty can do to the whole of New Zealand, is get the message out. Te Puke's back, kiwifruit's back. You know, there was a hiccup with that 16A variety. You might remember the fruit with the beak on it. That has proven that the cope with the PSA virus, but its replacement, the G3, is looking really strong. I've been over campaigning in Te Puke the last few weeks. I've never seen Te Puke look so good. There's not an unkept orchard in the place. The hedges are maintained well. There's new development going on. There's steel going into the pergolas. Look, that is the strongest message. PSA, don't worry about us, we're back. The biggest thing I'm going to do as the new mayor is finding a place to pack this kiwi fruit and to cool store it, because the wall of fruit coming on from all the new gold plantings is a really, really strong sign. I'm a former director of what is now the largest cooperative pack house in New Zealand. Eastpak is the new venture now. I was part of a predecessor to that. That has pack houses from Opotiki right through to Northland. They are gearing up. It's all about to happen again. So we're back in action, so watch this space. Yeah.
And here is Mark's answer to this question.
Well, PSA has a recovery pathway in place being led by the industry. New varieties is now starting to be grown. There's still a lot of uncertainty about what might happen into the future, and that's why it's so important that we have diversity in our economy and economic growth around different things other than horticulture and agriculture. So we need to support the industry as best we can as they work through the PSA recovery program, but at the same time we must start looking for diversity so that we broaden our economic base.
Now, the Bay of Plenty's population was once growing fast but has slowed in recent times. Ross, how will you try to encourage growth back to the Western Bay?
There's several ways that we can facilitate that, and that's the role that we've got as being a facilitator. When subdividers and developers come into our office now, we give them 2 hours free time to work with one of our staff to get their plans in place and know exactly what they've got to supply. And we give them what we call a go-to person. So once they're into the process, they've got some help. We also help them at the other end when they're ready for their 224 and wish to go out to try to sell properties. We are saying, yes, we will bond you until you've sold for your financial contributions. So that's the way we try to ease the demands and that area. There's also the bigger operations that come along. They work with senior management, and I'm talking here of Chinese companies that come in from time to time and have made inquiries about setting up. And that within 48 hours we can give them an answer. Once we know what they wish to develop and how they wish to develop, whether it's wet or dry industry, we can give them an answer on what's involved for them, and they can then take that to their own land when they're looking to buy land and talk about that with the prospective landowners. So we've got quite a bit in place to foster the growth and make certain when growth comes it does. We're starting to get a lift now in Mokoroa and Katikati in houses, so I think we're just about ready to step back up and start going again.
What would you do, Don, to try and encourage that growth back?
Yeah, well, firstly, I'd like to stabilise what we've got. In Western Bay of Plenty, we've got 20,000 rateable properties. 10,000 of those are residential lots, 1,000 farms, 2,000 orchards, and a big chunk of lifestyle blocks. So what we've really got to do is make our people who currently reside in Waihi Beach and Katikati, or Mokoroa, Te Puke, Makatu, we've got to make it affordable for them. We've got to take out the big shocks of any rate increases for them. They're our nucleus. They're our greatest selling point. They'll sell to the rest of the country, their friends and families, be it from Auckland, be it from wherever parts. Our climate sells the district. We have to make sure as we as a council perform, we look after those people, we work with the regional council on public transport opportunities. We work with our health providers on providing good, accessible health. These are the issues that are coming forward now as I'm on the campaign trail. Some of them aren't what you'd call core council activities, but they're the ones that the residents of our community hold dearest to their hearts, and they are vital. They're our greatest asset. We've got to look after them, and the rest will flow on.
Let's see what Mark had to say.
Well, we need economic growth, so we need to find a way to attract people to come and work here, live here, make their investment here. So the economic growth focus is key to growing population. There's also the opportunity to attract lifestylers and perhaps retirement age people to live in the Bay of Plenty and to enjoy the many benefits that we have in the Western Bay in particular. But I think in terms of population growth, the initial focus must be on economic development, job creation, because that's the way that we can attract more and more people into our particular part of the country and to actually get them to be part of a growth program economically and socially.
Coming up next, we put our viewers' questions to the candidates. Welcome back to Central News with the Western Bay Plenty District mayoral candidates. It's time we put our viewers' questions to these gentlemen. Now, our first one is from a Tauriko resident. They would like to know about the hot topic of amalgamation and do you support it, Don?
Well, Hillary, interestingly enough, amalgamation, I have to support it because currently within our district council, we've amalgamated from 5 wards into 3, which I believe is going to deliver real strength. We've now got 3 equal wards of equal in size, equal in population. Makatu and Tipuki have merged together and formed an amalgamated ward, and same in the west. In the west with Waihi Beach and Karikari together. So that just shows that amalgamation is not all bad and evil, and I think some real benefits going to come from that. As far as the bigger question goes about possible Bay of Plenty amalgamation, to me the biggest issue really is we have 2 cities. We have Tauranga City, we have Rotorua City. The real answer at the end of the day is going to flow from how those 2 are going to interact. Sure, we're roughly the equal size of Rotorua City, being Western Bay of Plenty. We've got reasonable size. But the key is, are 2 cities going to want to live in the same space? So there's a lot of work to go. We can observe what's going on around the rest of the country. We've got time on our side. But that's the key driver in my view.
Do you support amalgamation?
I'm very interested to look at amalgamation. It's one of the government's main leading in areas in local government at the moment. When we talk of regional governance, one council for the regional Bay of Plenty, I don't believe that will be effective or actually look after the people of the areas like Western Bay, Wakatani and others. It's very much centred on where the population is, and you'll find that those within the perimeters will actually lose contact, and it has been shown overseas after 10 years that there's a general fall off of involvement in those areas. Coming closer to home, amalgamation is in 2 forms. It's shared services and it's governance. We support shared services. We're already well down that track. That is the procurement of 6 councils buying their supplies and making savings in the bulk purchasing. The other is that we could go to a centre of excellence, which is one of those councils can provide the service, say for IT. The other 5 councils could then dispense with that and be part of that company supplying those services. I support that. When it comes to amalgamation, we need to take the debate out to our shareholders, our ratepayers. We need to educate them and make them well aware of what the financial advantages are, what the representation means and where they sit on that, and how it does affect them in the long run. Once they have that information, I'm quite happy then to work with whatever the majority decision comes from that. It is not a decision for a council or a mayor. It is a decision for the people of the communities and the whole of the Western Bay District. That's where it should come from, and that's what I will do if I get the opportunity.
Let's see what Mark had to say.
Well, my stated position is we should be on the forefront in the discussion around amalgamation. We should be talking with Tauranga City, talking with the Regional Council, talking to other neighbouring territorial authorities about a better way of delivering local government. Essentially, that means affordability, core services. The central government is encouraging local authorities to look at reform for a simple reason that they want more efficiencies, they want cost to be attractive for new investment, they want services to be affordable, and they also want debt to be managed because they're very concerned about the high debt loading. So we need to have that discussion. We need to be on the forefront of that discussion with our neighbours. We need to be searching for the options, discussing those options with our ratepayers, and making a determination about what form of reform works for our ratepayers and our residents.
If amalgamation did happen, how do you ensure that you don't absorb some of Tauranga City Council's debt, and would you be worried about that?
Yes, we are worried about that. That's one of the things that's come through in the last 2 years amongst my district, that they are concerned about debt, and we have got a program where we can reduce debt from 142 down to 80 million in 10 years. That's good. When I look at the debt factor of Tauranga, it is flatlining. Their 10-year plan shows no reduction. So there is a concern there that should we be placed alongside them, that would flow into us. We could actually ring fence it, but then if it's not for 10 years, but then if it's not paid off in that period of time, all you've done is pushed out 10 years in time, you haven't actually got any debt down. one of the major concerns when we have the discussion on amalgamation, if it happens to be with Tauranga, will be how we handle their debt alongside our debt and what the people of our communities think.
And would you be worried that we absorb their debt?
Well, poor old Tauranga, our neighbour, gets a bit of a hiding on debt, actually. When you look at their debt and you look at our debt, we're actually very similar, really. Population basis, per debt per capita, debt per properties, they're 2.5 times as big as us. If you multiply the debt out, it is pretty similar. So, no, I'm not so worried about that. I don't think that's the big problem.
Let's see what Mark had to say about those two.
Well, that would all need to be part of a fairly comprehensive financial analysis. But I guess the thing about Tauranga City is that they are a very significant growth node. The critical mass and the force of the combination of Tauranga and Western Bay would lift the population to about 160,000 people, I think. So actually probably go past the population of Hamilton. So I think Tauranga has growth, and I think that it has a stronger balance sheet than the Western Bay. So you'd have to consider what the balance sheet would look like through amalgamation. But I don't think the debt in Tauranga, to be honest with you, is anywhere near as difficult as the debt in the Western Bay.
Our next question is from a Waihi Beach viewer. They would like to know what you would do for flood water protection in the district. Don?
Yeah, flooding has been an issue. It's come to light in the last few years with a few heavy rainfall events. So certainly stormwater across our district is funded district-wide, and by moving all our other activities district-wide, any savings we can achieve in the others, which I'm sure we can out of wastewater and water, I would look to up our spend on on stormwater. We have a problem at Waihi Beach. We have a bit of catch-up work to do in Te Puke. I'd like to address it all. It's just a matter of balance, and so I won't be looking to go up dramatically in rates. It's just a reallocation of the resourcing and how we handle it. So yeah, Waihi Beach certainly got my focus.
And what about you, Ross? What would you like to do with floodwater protection? I understand you've already done a little bit so far.
We've had a fairly extensive program of the affected people being in contact with our staff on a one-on-one, which has given them a good understanding. There is a problem going forward of some development to be done, possibly in the figures of 1 or 2 million. We need to go back to our stormwater plans and look at those and see where we prioritise the works. And I believe that stormwater budget can start to address those areas of Waihi Beach. We've got to prioritise the works, and I think we will make savings. When I take the amalgamation of the wastewater and the water schemes together, those savings can come across, and we can then possibly even lift the stormwater rate, but we're not charging any more over total. So we are focused on the stormwater problems of both Waihi Beach and other areas. It's a matter of priorities and dealing with it, because you cannot no longer have people saying, my insurance doesn't cover the problem. What are you going to do, Council?
Let's see what Mark had to say.
Well, in Waihi Beach in particular, I've spent a lot of time there in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I've listened very carefully to the local people. So flooding is a big issue, and they have some solutions in mind that are probably in the $1 to $2 million range, using local knowledge and generations of people living there that know where the problem starts and how it can best be contained. Council suggested that a solution might be around $10 million. So there is a SWAT team established in Waihi Beach, Stormwater Action Group, or Stormwater Action Task Force. I'm not sure which definition they use. And my approach to that is to work very closely with them to consider the options that the community sees as the solution, and to actually have ears that listen and find the most cost-effective solution.
Well, that is all we have time for tonight, unfortunately. Thank you very much to Ross Patterson and Don Thwaites for coming in, and also to Mark Boyle, and we wish you all the best for the rest of your campaign. Coming up tomorrow night is half of the Waikato District Council's candidates, and then the night after that, the other half. You can watch this episode again on our website or on a Facebook page. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening, and remember to vote.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.